With it being Halloween time, it's the perfect time to talk paranormal, to highlight the haunted and show you the spookier side of our state. You're probably familiar with the Estes Park Hotel with a shining reputation as a horror destination, but let's talk lesser known haunts, from multiple murderous hotels to the cemetery turned park and more. Let's start with a place of more recent fame when it comes to hauntings. The Lumber Baron Inn in Denver's Highlands was recently featured in a Netflix show called 28 Days Haunted. Ghost hunters stayed there and had several experiences. Two young women were murdered in this room of the inn back in the 1970s. Check out what happened while we were interviewing the owner.
So we have these tea lights, and every once in a while, like this one, will move on its own. Nothing else is moving. But you can just sit here and be still, and every once in a while, these will start to spin around.
The Lumber Baron is now open as a bed and breakfast. They even do weddings. Another allegedly haunted place that you can stay in if you choose sits in Denver's Capitol Hill neighborhood. We took a tour with the owner. Welcome to the Patterson Inn.
It was built in 1893 is when the first family moved in.
Originally home to a U.S. Senator and his family, and if you believe the stories, possibly still home to them.
Spirits that are purported to be seen, we've had 2 claimed full-form apparitions in this past year, both of an older man in a black suit with a tie, a white hair and a mustache. We have a picture right downstairs that describes them down to the detail. That description is Senator Patterson.
Those alleged spirits of the Pattersons and more caused what's possibly the most famous ghost story here in the 1970s as construction workers remodeled the upstairs.
And to the point that the workers were certain that the house was haunted, certain that the house was possessed, and they convinced the owner to put 2 Dobermans into the house as guard dogs to protect their work over the night. And the very next morning, the 2 dogs were found dead on the front lawn of the house.
The Patterson is now a 9-room boutique hotel, drawing in guests for various reasons that owner Chris Chiari says have various experiences here.
Your experience in a haunted house has a lot to do with you and how you show up. If you have no belief this is a beautiful old Victorian home, and so many guests walk away with that experience. But if you have a curiosity, just 2 days ago, there were guests here with ghost hunting equipment.
And in a place where there are stories describing 12 spirits, that's what they named the bar. Open to the public, 7 days a week. Cap Hill is one of the oldest parts of Denver and therefore home to many of the area's hauntings and ghost stories. And just up the street from the Patterson is a super popular Denver park, also with a dark past. Our producer, Steve Dix, visited the Denver Botanic Gardens to talk perennials and poltergeists.
City Cemetery was like the main cemetery in Denver for a very long time. Pretty much the entire Denver Botanic Gardens property is on what used to be City Cemetery. This would include the Waring House, the main gardens property, and then everything basically west of that through Cheesman Park would have also been included in this. In 1890, they all decided, hey, what a great idea if we repurpose this space and we change it into a park so everyone can enjoy it. And so they notified everyone, like, hey, if you have loved ones that were buried here, you gotta move them out. This went on for a few months, and then it went on for a few years, and they were like, you know what, we need to do something. We have thousands of unclaimed bodies, and this is not really gonna go well if Denver builds a whole park that's built on bodies. So because of that, they decided to hire an undertaker, and this was E.P. McGovern, and he got this sweet deal that for every body he moved, he was gonna get $1.90, which was a pretty penny at the time. He quickly realized if he has a preset price and he has to move all these bodies out, how can he make even more of a profit doing so? And so his corrupt scandal decided to separate some bodies and bury them or put them in smaller coffins. So then he could transport out what looked like more bodies and make more money off of it. He quickly fell to the bottom once they uncovered his scheme. And so then they thought, well, we still have all of these bodies that have been left, that haven't been taken care of. What are we going to do now? And unfortunately, their solution to that was, let's level out the ground, let's build our park. If you've ever walked through Cheesman Park at night, there's a lot of like temperature fluctuations and little cold spots or warmer spots that just give you the eerie feeling, and you can conclude what you want from that.
Even if that cemetery is no longer there, there is still something to a field of gravestones that just kind of brings the chills this time of year. And that is true at the Crown Hill Cemetery in Wheat Ridge, but not just outside. On the grounds of the Crown Hill Cemetery, rising 158 feet into the sky,
it's a tower that's visible from many parts of Denver.
Sits the Tower of Memories, an imposing structure just from the outside.
I think only if you have been here for a service or you yourself have space here in the tower, you probably wouldn't know what lays within.
But when you venture inside, you realize just how imposing it truly is.
It's for above ground burial called entombment. So when you don't elect to be placed in the ground, you can be placed in an above ground crypt.
Entire hallways over several floors containing caskets and urns.
There are 6,000 crypts, so that would be casket burials, and there's 5,000 niches, which is for cremated remains or ashes, so probably about 10,000.
Dina Herrera of Crown Hill says, though solemn, she doesn't think the tower is haunted, though the red stained glass chapel might make you think otherwise.
Not that I've seen or even really heard. I'm sure visitors who are up here more regularly might have some stories.
So she makes calculated decisions about when to visit.
I don't come here alone in the dark, yeah.
Take one walk down these hallways for yourself, and you decide. That might be one of the more eerie places I've been recently. So finally, let's move back into Denver, downtown specifically. The Oxford Hotel sits just a half block from Union Station. Inside one particular room is home to multiple haunting stories. Room 320.
Back in 1898, there was a woman, Florence Montague, who around her wedding, on her wedding night, went for a walk, came back in, found her husband with another woman, shot the mistress and the husband before taking her own life. And the stories that we've heard over the last 100 or so years is all from single men who experience very strange things happening when they're staying in this room. Sometimes the sheets are pulled off the beds, lights flicker off and on unexplainably, and even the water faucets turn off and on.
You can stay at the Oxford. They offer specific rates to stay in room 320. So believe what you will, dismiss what you choose. Either way, have a happy Halloween.